iLearn at Home program provides affordable computers, internet services, user support and training to facilitate online learning at home. Students receiving the internet access subsidy can apply.
睇下我幾高分，好叻喎！識上網揾資料係好啲嘅。
Dominic's in Costa Rica catching some surf, cuddling some cute animals,
monkey too,
and looking for the Jesus Christ blizzard. Monday, Wild Things with Dominic Monaghan, Season 2 at 9:35 on Pearl. The President of Iran and the years of mistrust between his country and the US. Also on 60 Minutes. Unprecedented access inside the Vatican to meet with the Pope. Plus, the smartest dog in the world. Saturday night, 60 Minutes at 6:30 on Pearl.
Officials try to ease concerns about cross-border bridge problems. Xi Jinping on charm offensive in American Northwest. And tragedy at Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia. Good evening. The Highways Department has admitted it knew a year ago about the movement of steel structures in the construction of an artificial island for the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau bridge. But as Diane To reports, officials insist that does not pose any danger.
The island is being built using a more ecologically friendly, non-dredging reclamation method, a first for Hong Kong. It involves creating 3.6 kilometres of seawall with 85 steel cellular units. Now, the top parts of 2 of them have shifted up to 7 metres. The Highways Department said today it has stringent requirements for the massive construction project, and it admitted that a contractor was once found to have failed to follow these requirements.
In one occasion, they did not completely meet our requirement. So that's why we approached the contractor about this, and they agreed to carry out the rectification work at their own cost.
Lau wouldn't give further details about this incident and said the department needs to conduct further evaluation to see if this would affect the contracts for other parts of the project already signed. But the department stressed the steel cell movement was within expectations of the design and that it knew about it as early as last year. The Highways director said there was no need to inform the public as it posed no danger.
That's true. We knew last year that this kind of movement has occurred there. According to our assessment, even though there's that kind of movement, 6 to 7 meters, the situation is still safe.
Lau also said the structures that moved are located on the eastern side, which only has landscaping nearby.
The passenger clearance building is located on the western side and is now in progress. All the piles, most of the piles have been completed. So the location here, will not affect the very major passenger clearance building there.
The government budgeted more than $30 billion for the project when construction began 4 years ago. A revised estimate last year pointed to a price tag of $35.4 billion. Diane To, TVB News.
The government will publish the final register of electors tomorrow ahead of the district council election later this year. Authorities have had to deal with a record number of objections and admit that voter registration rules could be changed. The Electoral Affairs Commission received 49 notices of objection regarding the provisional register involving a total of 2,001 voters. That's the largest number to date. Although some complaints were later withdrawn, courts still had to deal with about 1,500 cases. 1,152 of the cases were rejected, while 299 voters were removed from the register. 10 are suspected fraud cases and were referred to law enforcement agencies. Some consist of residents of elderly care homes who allegedly were registered to vote without their consent. The chairman of the Electoral Affairs Commission admitted the voter registration system could be changed.
Whether you draw the line is a matter of opinion. It can either be criticized as too lenient or too strict. But in any case, I think there should be public consideration as to what kind of a system we desire, whether we desire a more lenient or convenient system, or we desire a strict system where conditions are satisfied before registration is allowed.
After the publication of the final register of electors tomorrow, authorities will no longer be able to remove those registered as voters from the list. Still, those who are not eligible to vote in the upcoming district council election and knowingly do so are liable to criminal prosecution. President Xi Jinping has sought to play down fears American companies might have about doing business with China, saying his country was taking steps to reduce restrictions on foreign investment. The president is on a landmark visit to the US. Tony Sabine reports.
President Xi Jinping continued his charm offensive in the United States by meeting with executives from some of America's biggest companies, including Boeing, Microsoft, GM, Apple, Amazon and Facebook. It's an indication of how important the Chinese market is, even if some American firms like Facebook are blocked in China. Xi publicly assured US business leaders Beijing is making it easier for foreign companies to invest in China. The US government and American businesses have long complained about issues such as intellectual property protection in China. There have also been concerns about a lack of transparency in regulations and laws, giving the sense it's not always a fair playing field in the country. The president then visited the Boeing aircraft plant at Everett, where a multi-billion-dollar deal was announced to sell 300 planes to China, and a Boeing assembly plant will be built in China. Xi also visited the Microsoft campus and Bill Gates. There, China's internet czar Liu Wei told US tech executives both countries must work together on cybersecurity, an issue that has long been a thorn in Sino-US relations. Liu's speech appeared to lay the groundwork for an agreement, which could be announced when Xi meets Obama in Washington. And finally, Xi sampled a bit of American teen culture, visiting the Lincoln High School in Tacoma with his wife, where he met with students and teachers. Tony Sabine, TVB News.
More than 700 people were killed in Saudi Arabia in a stampede at the annual Hajj pilgrimage. It happened as more than 1 million of Muslim worshippers streamed towards the Jamarat wall used for the ritual stoning of the devil, one of the main rites of the Hajj. At least 800 were injured in the tragedy near Mecca. The head of Iran's Hajj organization blamed Saudi mismanagement, citing a road closure. In past years, the Hajj had drawn around 3 million pilgrims. This year and last, however, Riyadh cut back on the numbers. It enforced strict visa rules and set up a ring of checkpoints around the city to prevent dangerous overcrowding. About 1.4 million have attended this year. European Union leaders say a crucial meeting to address the migrant crisis was substantial and energetic. The leaders agreed to boost border controls to reduce the chance more migrants will come to Europe and to increase aid to agencies that help refugees. James Aiken reports.
The broad and comprehensive agreement came early in the meeting despite deep divisions over how to tackle the staggering crisis. The European Council chief said the decision to send €1 billion to international aid agencies was based on facts, not emotions.
Leaders also agreed that the current chaos at our external borders must end. Proper management and control of our external borders is our common responsibility. Therefore, we all agreed to offer help in every possible way, including cooperation on hotspots.
The agreement is welcome news for countries like Greece and Italy, which have found themselves on the front lines of the crisis.
This is very important for us because for the first time the migrant question is not simply a question of the single member states. It's a question about all European people and particularly all European institutions. For this reason, we are absolutely satisfied.
Hardline Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who has faced furious criticism for the border fences in his country, says he got much of what he wanted from the meeting. But he added the leaders did not go far enough to boost border protection. Hungary is one of 4 countries that fiercely oppose a refugee resettlement agreement reached by European Union members a day earlier. The binding quotas may still be challenged in EU courts. German Chancellor Angela Merkel cautioned her parliament that the agreement is only a first step, but stressed it sends a signal of unity. Merkel added the EU will need the support of the United States, Russia, and the Middle East to help fight the causes of the crisis. The issue will be back on the agenda at the next meeting of EU presidents and prime ministers in mid-October. James Aiken, TVB News.
Volkswagen is reeling after its CEO resigned yesterday amid an exhaust-breaking scandal that involves 11 million diesel vehicles worldwide. The revelations have rocked not only the world's biggest car maker, but could also threaten Germany's entire economy. Alan Buchnier has more.
Meine Damen und Herren,
one day after apologizing for the rigging of U.S. emissions tests, 68-year-old Martin Winterkorn resigned, taking responsibility for the irregularities uncovered by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. The head of Volkswagen admitted up to 11 million of the company's cars contain software that evades emission controls, violating clean air laws. The EPA says Volkswagen is facing penalties of up to $18 billion, and the U.S. Justice Department has launched a criminal probe. Lawyers have also launched class action lawsuits in the U.S. Following a board meeting, senior board member Bertolt Huber said they decided to accept Winterkorn's resignation, stressing the company needs a new beginning. Huber emphasized that Winterkorn had no knowledge of the manipulations, and it still remains unclear who was behind the massive fraud. Volkswagen has filed a criminal complaint with German prosecutors seeking to identify those responsible. Germany's economy minister Sigmar Gabriel called the scandal unacceptable and said the damage that's been unleashed is huge. The reverberations for the automaker are worldwide.
From a brand perspective, can I really trust them? Not sure anymore.
I don't think I would buy a VW in any German car at all because of the publicity that VW have had.
I think this situation will be very damaging for VW's reputation. I think it might also put people off diesels in America, where they're not the car of choice at the moment, and that's what VW are trying to achieve. You need to take the test out of the hands of the manufacturers and introduce some independent testing.
Shares in Volkswagen rose almost 7% yesterday after Winterkorn's resignation. A successor will be discussed at a board meeting tomorrow, and more resignations are expected. Alan Buchnier, TVB News.
Pope Francis has become the first pontiff in history to address a joint session of the U.S. Houses of Congress. During his address to more than 500 lawmakers and officials, Francis spoke about a number of issues, including the death penalty, immigration and religious freedom. On capital punishment, Francis called for an end to the death penalty across the world. He called on Congress and America as a whole to embrace immigration and immigrants. Yesterday, Francis urged President Barack Obama to keep up the fight against climate change. But as Tony Sabine reports, there were some eyebrows raised at a mass later in the day when a controversial Franciscan friar was made a saint.
Pope Francis received a warm welcome from the tens of thousands of Catholic faithful as he arrived for a Mass at Washington, D.C. In warm autumn sunshine, the ceremony was held outside the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception, the largest Catholic church in North America. The highlight of the Mass was when Francis canonized an 18th century missionary who brought Catholicism to what is now California. The elevation of Junipero Serra to sainthood was the first canonization on US soil. Latino churchgoers say honoring Serra acknowledges the crucial role the Franciscan friar played in spreading the faith in North America. But others think he was highly controversial. Native Americans say Serra was instrumental in paving the way for the Spanish conquistadors, who